Hello folks, how do you do? Monochrome Ruins here. Recently, I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw that somebody had shared a link to my local children's museum that they were doing this like adults only sort of event where you could come in after hours, formal attire, all of that, but you could go through the museum without any kids around and you could see all the different events, the new things that were coming up, just all the really cool stuff going on at the museum. And it made me think back to all the times that I went there as a kid and all the cool different events that they had. And it reminded me of this one big event that they did. I was probably around 6 or 7 years old, I'm guessing, but they had this circus themed event, so you could find out all about how circuses ran, some of the different things that performers did, just a really in-depth look at the behind the scenes of a circus. And as I was thinking about that, I remembered how much of a disaster it was when I went to this. So I thought it would be really funny to share this story time with you guys, just so you can see how pathetic little me was, because it was pretty bad, let me tell you something. So to kind of set it up, when you walked into the children's museum, there was like this big open floor at the bottom where you could, go to the food court, get your tickets, whatever. And then on the second floor, it was kind of cut out in the middle, so it had a little like walk around like balcony area that overlooked the first floor, but it wasn't a completely covered in floor, if that makes sense. So they had two of the big events up on this second floor, which was overlooking down to the bottom floor. So when you walked in the museum doors, you could look up, go, oh, whoa, I want to be a circus person, go sign up for the event and go. It was amazing and it worked because every kid there was dying to do these events that day. So when we went to the museum that day, we went around just to like the exhibit, we learned about everything, and then came the time to go to these two big spectacular events on the second floor. So these events were basically tightrope walking, and then there was another one that just dealt with doing different like tricks and flips. So basically you were on a trampoline but you had a harness on you. We go up to the second floor, and the very first thing that we go to is the trampoline event. Now, I hadn't really been on a trampoline much just because we didn't have them in the neighborhood at the time, but I did remember doing them when I was in gymnastics. Whenever we were in the lower levels, we, would be treated, if we did really good that day, to a little bit of time on the trampoline, just going back and forth on it, doing flips, whatever we wanted to do. So I was super, super pumped about this, and when it came my turn to go, they got me all suited up in my harness, hooked me up to the thing, and I was so pumped. I was going to do all these crazy flips and tricks, and they were shouting out people's names to be like, oh hey, look at this person up here, they're doing awesome, you should come do it too. So I get up on the trampoline, I'm standing there waiting, and when they hook you up, it lifts you up into the air. So that way you kind of start bouncing first, and then you'll hit the trampoline and go back up. So there's like a big gap there between you and the trampoline. So as this machine is lifting me up into the sky, I can see down to the first floor. So this is probably a good, I don't know, maybe 75 feet or so, because, they're really tall ceilings if you're in a museum. So I'm up there, and once they're finally ready, they're just like, okay, you're good to go. You can start doing whatever flips you want. Like, the machine's locked and we're good. And all I can do is see the first floor and think, oh my god, I'm going to flip out of this harness, land on the floor at the very bottom of the first floor and die. Like, there's no other way around it. I'm going to die on this trampoline thing. I don't want to be a circus performer anymore. This is awful. I hate it. I just don't want to do it. So, of course, this is a timed event, and you can't really just end it early unless, you're sick or something. So I kind of just start doing like the bouncing up and down sort of thing with a death grip on these chains that are connected to my harness. And I refuse to do any sorts of flips, any sorts of tricks. I'm just bouncing up and down, just like mortified, waiting for the experience to be over. So finally, after the 90 seconds or whatever is up, I come down from that, just like praying to the gods above, words of thanks that I am still alive, that I survived this harrowing event, even though I had watched a good 20 people earlier that day do all sorts of crazy stunts, and they lived. But, my brain was just crazy back in the day, apparently. So, after we finished up that event, I had already signed up for the tightrope walking event as well. So, it was one of those things, I had to go do that then too. So, we walk over, we get in line for that, and I'm thinking, okay, this isn't as bad. Like, at least I'm on something the whole time, and like, you can kind of see the bottom floor, but you're not facing the first floor at that point. It's kind of like parallel to where you are. So I'm just telling myself, just look forward, just go straight over to the other side of the tightrope, and you'll be okay. So we're waiting in line, and then once again comes my turn to get harnessed up to get up on this tightrope. And the way it was set up, as you can imagine, there's the two sides with the tightrope in the middle, and then we had the normal like waist harness on, and that was hooked in the back to another rope that was above us, so we were connected from up top. So even if we slipped off of the tightrope, we actually weren't going to fall anywhere. It wasn't like a bungee cord and it had a bunch of tension on it. So if you slipped off, like, you would be hanging exactly where you were. They made sure that you couldn't actually fall anywhere. So a little bit different than if you go like rock climbing or something. So once I am all hooked up, there is an employee standing behind me holding on to my back rope, making sure I'm not moving until it's time to go, and another employee on the other side of the rope waiting to give the signal that, okay, it's okay for you to cross, you can go back and forth for a bit of time, you can do handstands, flips, whatever you want to attempt to do, you can, and then they'll tell you at what time you need to go back across the rope. So finally the person behind me lets go and says, okay, you can walk out to the middle, and then we'll tell you when you're far enough away that you can start doing tricks. I probably take a good 2 or 3 steps out on this rope, and I just freeze. I can't do anything else. All I can see is just the impending death that is below me, all the people on the bottom floor who, if I topple to the side, I'm going to fall onto them and die, just like the bungee jump thing before. So I am just, once again, mortified, and I'm just thinking, there's no way I can do this. What did I get myself into? I can't believe I ever thought this would be fun. And because this event was a little bit different than the trampoline one before, after a good probably 30 seconds when they realized I wouldn't move at all, the employee who was behind me grabbed my rope, dragged me backwards onto the platform, and was like, okay, good job, yeah. Because, well, Children's Museum, they're going to tell you you do good no matter what you do. And that was the end of the really big, interactive, spectacular events that were going on at the museum that day. And it's one of those, when I look back now, it's really pretty funny because I got decently far in gymnastics. We used to play like crazy on the trampolines here in the neighborhood, and it's just one of those things that it's nothing that I would be scared of now at all, but for some reason I was just mortified to no end that day when we were at the Children's Museum. Alright guys, so that is my story about the time that I thought I would be a great circus performer and I failed at every aspect of life. So, I hope you guys got a good laugh out of this story. I certainly did looking back. And with that, I am going to go ahead and conclude this episode and bid you all farewell. Thank you kindly for watching, and I will catch you on the flip side. Laters.